editing is going to look like it was awesome, and I didn't have any technical difficulties whatsoever. Like I've been doing this for years. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Educators in Industry. So thank you for joining us. And I'm sure we might have a couple of people joining in as we go, which is perfectly fine. But we're going to go ahead and get started now because we've got a lot to cover. Want to welcome you. Today's featured business is DeWys Metal Solutions, formerly DeWys Manufacturing. So they have been rebranded, which I'm sure my guests will talk about in just a moment. You may be muted initially, but we're going to have lots of Q&A time. And I welcome you to either type in the chat box if that's what makes you feel more comfortable, or by all means, when we have Q&A time, you can feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions out loud. It'll definitely help our guests feel like there's a little more of an interaction. So the goal, if this is your first Educators in Industry, the goal of this session is to help educators like yourselves connect with and hear from local employers regarding the jobs and skills critical for today's workforce. If you've never met me before, or this is your first time coming, my name is Eric Kelleher. I'm your host. I am a career readiness consultant with Ken ISD. So just a couple of things to let you know, this session is being recorded. So just keep that in mind. However, I do encourage you to keep your screens on, which I'll talk about in just a second. Honestly, it's a little tiny blip in the corner, and it usually won't show unless maybe you're talking. So, but our guests would like to see your faces. It helps with engagement for sure. You're going to be able to receive sketches for this, so up to 1.5 sketches for today, but you have to complete the survey at the end of the course, and I will give you a 6-digit link and a survey link. So I will tell you, here's where you go to complete the survey. Here's the 6-digit code you need to complete the survey for today's session. So you have to do that in order to get your sketches. And then in just a second, I'm going to put a sign-up sheet in. So please remember to sign in. That's going to be something new this year. What I sometimes was finding was I would have people register, but then their name was Bubba. And I'm like, I don't see any Bubba in the registration because their Zoom name was different. So I'm just going to ask you. And if your name is Bubba, I mean, then obviously your name is Bubba. But otherwise, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and just do the sign-in sheet so that I can compare to make sure, oh, the sign-in is matching up. So again, my name is Eric Kelleher, and we're doing Educators in Industry. So some norms for today's session. If you would you keep your mic muted when you're listening? But definitely when it's time to share your voice Q&A, you can feel free at any time to unmute yourself and chat, or use the chat feature. If that makes you feel more comfortable, go ahead and do that. If you have questions and somebody's in the middle of talking, go ahead and put it in the chat at any point. The only time I would say that there's no time you couldn't do that. The only time I would say is unmic yourself is when we say, hey, does anybody have any questions right now? Then would be a great time to unmute yourself. Number 2, be an active participant. Please contribute to the discussion, whether that's raising your hand and chatting out loud, whether it's using the chat box, but please ask questions. Our guests are here, giving time out of their work schedule to meet with us. Number 3, please keep your screen on whenever possible. I know that's not always possible, especially when we have a lot of counselors on here and emergencies pop up and you have to have a student come in, and I get that. But when possible, keep your screen on. What I'm finding as we've done this, we used to start with our screens off, but I just think it helps with engagement and it helps our guests feel like they're talking to somebody other than just myself. And finally, for the future, whenever you log in, this is just a reminder, when you log in with whatever first and last name you registered under. Like I said, sometimes we're getting a different name than the person who actually registered, and it's a heck of a time trying to go back and try to match those people up, because I do want to make sure you get credit for attending the session. So with that, I am going to introduce one more time DeWys Metal Solutions, and with me I have Laura Preuss, who is the Workforce Development HR Manager with DeWys. Laura, I meant to ask you if it was okay if I put your email address. Knowing you, I figured you didn't care. If anybody has questions at the end of the session, like, oh man, I really wish I could follow up there, you can always email me. Say, hey, I would really love to get in contact with DeWys. I've got this thing going in my classroom and I'd love, or one of my teachers is doing something and I'd love to draw some connections. To me, that's the ultimate goal. For you to hear about different jobs in the industry is great. For you to hear what employers are saying is important, what they say that they really wish they had learned, or things that you could be doing in the classroom to help prepare them for jobs, is even better. But when we get partnerships going on and you say, I would love to connect with DeWys. I would love to do something with them in combination of something we're doing in the classroom or in the school, that's the best. So feel free to reach out, or again, reach out to me at any point. So with that, I am going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to make sure I put in the chat box the sign-in sheet. So if you haven't done so already, well, of course you haven't done so, I just put it in there. But if you get a chance, go ahead and use the sign-in sheet. And with that, though, I'm going to turn it over to Laura. Laura, it's all yours.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Let me get my screen set up for everybody to see. Is everybody seeing my PowerPoint now? Awesome. So as Eric said, name is Laura Preuss.
Hey, Laura, I'm sorry. Just one thing. If you go up in the top, you see display settings.
Okay.
You see this, if you click on that drop down for display settings, and then it might, so you probably have a dual screen, right?
I do.
At the top of your screen, yeah. If you click on the display settings and click the little drop down where it says the word display settings, and it says flip or swap the screen, because right now we don't see it full screen.
Okay. I don't have the display screen thing that you are talking about. Hold on here.
Okay.
Hold on.
That's all right. So when you go to share, put your screen on there, you might have it on the other screen, but there should be something that says display settings, just a little drop down. And if you don't worry about it. We'll just go ahead and move along.
Just stop talking. Okay. Sorry, what? Okay.
I wouldn't sweat it. I just stopped your roll. So sorry about that.
I'm just trying to make sure we can see this correctly here. A second. I think I might have it.
It'll usually pop up after you start sharing your screen.
How are we seeing it now?
It's good enough. You're good. We can see it.
All right. Good enough doesn't always sound real good here, but we'll go.
I mean, it's great. It's fantastic.
Sure. Okay. But at any rate, I will start this process here because we'll get to the real people you want to hear from, which is the 3 team members you're probably seeing on one of your screens here. So like Eric had said, I am from DeWys Manufacturing, and it has been changed to DeWys Metal Solutions, and I'll talk a little bit about that here in just a second. But we are a sheet metal fabrication company. We were founded in 1977 by a DeWys family, and it's still owned today by the DeWys family. It started right in Walker, so not too terribly far from where we're located today, in that little red barn you see on the left side of the screen. And then today it is on the right side. That is an actual picture of what we look like now. We just had a second edition put on in the last 2 years, right about the time COVID started, and we're about 150,000 square feet. The rebranding happened very recently, and that's because of some acquisitions that we have added to our portfolio here at DeWys. So while we still have the manufacturing here in Marne, we also have a company by the name of Refab located in the Grand Haven area. And then we have 2 other offerings. One is agricultural, the American Grower Resource, and then DeWys Stainless Solutions. Both of those are currently housed inside DeWys Manufacturing, but with the ultimate goal of being able to start building another business, and the DeWys Metal Solutions will ultimately be outside of here. So we are continuing to grow within this region, which has been a really great thing for our company to be involved in and our team members to be involved in. What we're capable of doing here is a variety of different metal solution processes. We are all metal, precision metal, but we can pretty much cut, form, weld, powder coat, machine, and you will get to see a little bit of the process in a video that I have embedded into this PowerPoint here in just a little bit. Some of the industries, we are a contract manufacturer. So what that means is we don't have a product line of our own through the Metal Solutions, but we do a variety of different parts and products for different companies and different industries. So as you can see from this list, you've got medical, material handling, furniture, store fixtures, power generation. We're pretty diverse. We don't get into automotive. We're not into the structural elements either, but it is a pretty diverse area to which we are invested in here. Some of the products, you may recognize them from office settings. You've got in the gas industry and oil industry to Starbucks. If you ever go into a Starbucks location, the cooler cases are in the front. We do a lot of the metal that are inside of them. The challenge with the DeWys name is you don't see our name on any particular product. We just provide the metal solutions that go back to a bigger picture. And so therefore, like these cooler cases are put together by a different customer and not here at DeWys. So we offer here at DeWys, and I've got various kind of different slides to give you an idea of some of the things that we do and some of the involvement that we're in, and how I even got connected to Eric. But one of the things that we offer our team members on site is the university and really training and education in general. It's something that DeWys believes in, I think, in a big way, and not just in regards to an everyday on-the-job training, but from tuition reimbursement to seminars, all sorts of training elements. But we do have 5 full-time trainers, and one of which is on this presentation with us today. So they're all here specifically to help support our team members be able to perform their jobs. They're here to help our leadership when there are customers that need some of our help. So they're very much involved in our everyday world, but we do fully invest in all of our team members with 100% tuition reimbursement as well. So as I was just kind of alluded to earlier here, this is what I'm going to get into. These partnerships is really our bread and butter. It's part of our culture and our brand here at DeWys, and how we've gotten involved is really through years of working with people like Eric, some of the school districts, really just investing our time and energy in a lot of different ways. So a couple of which we're involved in the Muskegon area ISD with their CNC machining, their weld program, various different aspects of how we get into there to talk to students and give them opportunities to come out here to DeWys and or for us to come on site. We invest in a couple different FIRST robotics teams locally. One's a homeschool group, as well as a local high school at Allendale. Oops, I'll go a little faster because we wouldn't want to go by Eric and his group at the Kent ISD. We've been involved in a number of different things over there. We sit on the advisory board for their weld program. Prior to that, we were on the mechatronics program. I sit on the advisory board for the Launch U, which is the middle college program. Again, as I've said, you know, education is definitely a big part of what DeWys believes in. So the middle college program was a great, we feel like is a great addition to opportunities that high school students get to have, especially in the connection to the STEM related programs too. So definitely been involved in that since the conception over here at the Kent ISD. We're involved in a lot of the MET partnerships over here at Coopersville High School. There's a local high school that we help to form. It's a class, it's a yearly class, as well as an ability for them to be able to get hired after high school to some of the local employers and various different manufacturing elements. So we've got metals, woods, plastics, food industry. We've had quite a variety. But students go through a class. It is an accredited class through the high school system where they get to learn about lean manufacturing, 5S. They learn interviewing skills, resume building. They then have, like I said, an opportunity to really explore the careers, which has been a great avenue for some of the students who wouldn't normally get to understand what is manufacturing from our stance, but also just, is this a career or an option they'd even be interested in doing? And while some do or don't, all the experiences that I get out of student interaction is good because they're just getting to explore various careers and helps them to identify what they want to do after. We were also involved with Kenwa Hills, another local high school. They had a STEM lab for a good number of years. We were renting space, and in that space house some of our manufacturing functions, as well as one of our customers was assembling food carts. So if you think about when you go downtown New York and they have the mobile food carts, it's not necessarily the ones that are motorized like you see here in Grand Rapids or maybe in some of the other local cities, but some of the food carts that get pulled behind trucks. This company was building a lot of them locally, and we were doing all the metal work for them. So in conjunction with that, we had this STEM program in there, and they had the ability to see exactly what we were doing on any given day. They could see the welders, they could see the assemblers, the electrical units that were being put in. It was an opportunity for them to engage with us on project-based learning, on being able to really kind of interact with team members on what they're doing. So exploring careers again. It was really a very interesting concept it went over very well in the number of years that we did it. It just kind of recently has moved back in, and you can see this was their classroom setup. So it was very much based on teamwork and the efforts around building projects that would help them to connect what they were seeing through those windows and what we were doing to what they were doing schoolwork wise. We are also with a number of college partnerships. You're going to hear from Tabor here, one of our the people on the panel who's out of the Grand Valley program. We've worked with them for co-ops and internships. GRCC for various weld programs, their Metallica program. We utilize them for a number of different STEM trainings, blueprint trainings, all sorts of different things. They've been a great partner to us. And then Ferris State, which you'll hear from another one of the panelists, is a graduate of their programs out of the weld engineering. We get a lot of our interns from them, some weld students out of there. And we've had some other types of internships come from the Ferris State, but all local colleges that we have definitely spent a number of years partnering with and getting to know, so we could kind of help to grow knowledge for the team, but also to help us to build our teams. We've hired a number of students out of these programs. Oh, there you go. And then the last big thing is more of a regional level here. DeWys has been a part of Discover Manufacturing, which Discover Manufacturing is a local group of manufacturers that convene to help really move the needle in regards to conversations around manufacturing careers, programming, working with schools. And under that umbrella, there's a couple different major activities that they've been involved in. One is MI Career Quest, which is a day-long event where manufacturing, IT, construction, and healthcare have gone as one big group of people and had hands-on activities for high school students to be able to get involved in and to really kind of see our different careers and opportunities that we have available for them. And I will emphasize they were all supposed to hands-on exploratory type of opportunities. So it was definitely not like a museum setting. These students would come in, we had virtual welders, I had real welding going on at times. We've had all sorts of different activities in the manufacturing, but all the sectors got involved. And so it made for a very busy, but a really great day for students to be able to engage with us at a higher level than just being able to, do a tour in my facility, but really kind of touch on what exactly a day in the life might be like. We also do Manufacturing Day, which is typically in October, and now we've started to get involved in November. So we get out of Count Day and some of the issues and challenges that we face with some of the October timeframes. But Manufacturing Day is a nationally recognized day that is meant to help students get understanding of what manufacturing is. So we are very much open our doors here to tours for students to come out and be able to see what we do, get involved in activities. And again, we've also gone on site to schools. I know Eric had mentioned before, if you ever wanted to partner with us, it's something that we are definitely interested and willing to do. We go on site, we've brought activities, they've come out here and done various activities that are safe and they're able to do in a manner that also gets them engaged in exploratory ways in the manufacturing careers. And then lastly, I'm not sure if everybody's familiar, but Talent 2025 is in the West Michigan area, really connecting our talent, our pipeline, working everything from the K-12 to the college to the manufacturing sector and beyond. It's really been a great way to additionally convene locally to create a voice that helps us to kind of move forward the needle in regards to what manufacturing is. For some reason. There we go. Try that. Just some of the things about manufacturing. I know in a lot of regards that the feeling is that manufacturing is still pretty dark and antiquated and old-fashioned, but there's a lot of things internally that are definitely anything but. We have a lot of really great technology on site here that you're going to see in the video, and we are very much try to engage our team members in a variety of different things that get them just beyond doing their job here. Some of these are these engagement activities, everything from the Habitat to Humanity and some of the volunteer aspects that we can do, food days, horseshoe tournaments. COVID has definitely thrown off some of these activities for us because of the close contact and things that we don't want to try to get everybody involved in. But we definitely are still trying to keep them actively engaged because we work very hard here, and so we want them to feel appreciated and know that it can be fun also to work inside the manufacturing facility. As I had said before, we're definitely involved in a lot of community activities. We usually do something in the fall and in the spring. A lot of times with Habitat, with Kids Food Basket, Love Inc. and Feeding America, there's a variety of different ways that our team members have been able to get back out into our local community and give back and try to continue to impress upon some of that for our team members here. We also have on-site coaches. So some of the different benefits and things that we like to offer, and this is one of them that has been, I think, extremely important because our on-site coach comes and can help with anything from financial challenges to maybe some legal challenges to just some other aspects of some counseling needs, personal and professional. Here at DeWys, we definitely believe in connecting people to fulfilling personal, professional, and financial goals. And so this is one of the ways that we're able to do it. And by having her on site, it helps to make that connection a lot easier for people and be able to help overcome any of the challenges that they might bring into the company. We also have what I'll call a holistic wellness coach. She comes in once a month, and this is mental and physical. So they do a lot of different activities around maintain no gain during the holidays, but yet they can help with some of the mental health and the stress issues that we know a lot of people are facing, irregardless of COVID. We have a lot of issues that we know are coming from the outside. So we try to have people come internally and be able to help our team members with all of them. And then, of course, as everybody likes, the social media aspects, we have everything that we do and get involved in out on our various social media platforms. And we know that all the students are out there involved. So they certainly can go on any one of those and see pictures of some of the things that we're doing on any given time. So I have a little video here that will give you inside the company. It was put together last fall when we couldn't do manufacturing day and have students inside. So hopefully this will help to give you just a little bit of an understanding of it.
My name is Laura Preuss. I'm the Workforce Development Manager here at DeWys Manufacturing. We're a full-service contract manufacturer, a complete metal solution company. So when we say contract manufacturing here at DeWys, that means we do not have a product line of our own that we're producing. We're producing millions of different parts and products for different companies and different industries. So we are providing for furniture, store fixtures, medical supplies, power generation. We're all over the United States and the world. And what you are touring today is a variety of different careers and opportunities that you can get into and be invested in here at DeWys. only do we provide careers in the skilled trades area, but we also have human resources, accounting, engineering in both the welding area as well as mechanical engineers. We have continuous improvement coordinators, quality managers. We have a wide variety of professional and skilled trade positions to offer here at DeWys. We like to tell our team members at all possible that this is a great place to work, and we do that by actually showing them. We have monthly bonus opportunities. We have tuition reimbursement that is 100% as long as they pass the course. We also have different 401k options and different ancillary types of benefits that our employees can have, because we really want them to know that them being a part of this company is important to us. We do offer summer opportunities for high school and college students. If they're looking to get an internship or a co-op or even to job shadow in different careers, you're welcome to reach out to us here at DeWys. We'd be more than happy to set you up with somebody who can give you a real life example of what the career you might be interested in doing is.
All right. So oops, you don't want to listen to that again, do you? So that kind of concludes my part of the presentation. Before I turn it over to Eric and introduce you to the panel, any questions I might be able to answer for anybody? All right, fair enough. So you might be seeing on your screen, there are 3 people that I have here for you to talk to. They're from left to right. I believe you're seeing the same screen I am. On the left is Tabor Parker. He is an accounting intern here at DeWys, and he is, I believe, in his senior year at Grand Valley. In the middle is Tyler Hawkins. Tyler, we also got out of high school. He went to Kent City here in the local area and has been growing his career, and now is currently a team lead on first shift here at our company. And on the right is Sarah Gardner. Sarah, I got out of Ferris's welding program. She is a full-time trainer here and is a CWI, CWE certified weld engineer. So these 3 are gonna answer questions from Eric and hopefully maybe give you some insight into some things that they've got some ideas for.
Okay. Thanks, Laura. That was a great presentation. Really appreciated that. I just wanted to let you know, Laura, real quick, that it looks like there's somebody trying to get in and I didn't see them coming in. So since I gave you co-host, if you just keep your eyes peeled for that, if anybody wants to join in, you can just feel free to admit them. Well, with that, hey, welcome everybody. So I was trying to do double duty and maybe we didn't all catch the names. So if we would do that again, we see Tabor's name on there. But why don't we repeat the names one more time across the board if we can, and that way we'll know if we can check your audio.
Okay, I'm Tabor Parker.
Tyler Hawkins.
And Sarah Gardner.
Okay, all right, so Tabor, Tyler, and Sarah. All right, well, thanks for joining us. And thanks everybody for also being a part of our session today. Well, I guess I've got a lot of questions, but I'm going to make sure that I reiterate to everybody participating today, I really, really encourage you to be active participants. So if you see something that you wanted to ask, by all means, just throw it right into the chat. You don't have to wait around for that. When we do have some open Q&A portion, by all means, please do also as well do that. But want you guys to be involved with this. So I guess we'll start off. I've got a bunch of questions, but I'm trying to be sensitive to everyone else. First one though, Laura, I'm going to second what Laura was sharing earlier. Laura's been a fantastic partner, and obviously she doesn't just partner with Kent ISD. In fact, DeWys isn't even located within Kent County. I don't believe, right? You're in Marne, right? So you're kind of way up out there. Is that Muskegon County?
It's Ottawa County.
Ottawa County, okay. And but you have done a ton of stuff with us, and I kind of even wrote in my notes here, you're kind of like an education groupie in a way. I kind of see, because she has partnered with me. She reached out to me. I'm going to brag on her a little bit. She's actually kind of working on her PhD right now. Am I right? You're working on your PhD and she's doing an education. And so she's trying to like find ways to tie education into what she's doing in her workforce. So she has reached out to me. She's created a lesson for me before that we have in our list of lessons that's on our website. She has done a video for us around employability skills. And so if you have questions about that later, by all means, throw those out there. But she's created a video for us around employability skills. I don't remember, was it teamwork, I think was the video for. She has participated in mock interviews in Kent County with some of our schools. So if you're saying there's ways I would love to get businesses involved, then Laura's probably one of the people to go to. The problem is she has a hard time saying no. But that said, like what I am looking for are for schools who are saying, what we're looking to do is not just have education on this side and business on this side. What we're looking to do is see how we can partner together. As a person who's been in education off and on for 20 plus years, I have always felt like education says we do our thing. And when and business says we'd love to help partner with you, you're like, no, we're good, we got it. And I think we're starting to see a little bit of a shift now, thankfully, to see a little bit of a shift where we can see education says, oh, what my job is to be getting these kids ready to work someday. So why would we not be bringing those people in to try to help partner with us and make sure we can help them? So I guess one of the first questions I'm going to ask this. So Laura gave us her perspective, but for our panelists, tell us in your, well, you can go around and you don't all have to answer, or you can feel free to, but for Tabor, Tyler, and Sarah, tell us in your words about DeWys. What would you say is one thing that you really enjoy about working at DeWys?
Okay. So I think the biggest thing for me, and I've been here for a little while now, but culture is huge, right? So we really care about the people that are here. There's great people that are here. I think that's one of the biggest things for myself.
And the way I look at that is just, you know, training wise, because I'm very involved in that, obviously, how much we spend investing time and just really working to build our team members and help them kind of reach their goals, and also obviously help us have a really solid team here.
Yeah, I joined DeWys back in March. So I think I've been here probably the shortest out of us three. But yeah, really learning how all the departments work together, and just understanding that they're all here to help you and you're here to help them. So really the teamwork aspect's huge here.
Okay, I'd love to hear that. And in just a second, you know what, I'm going to talk about it now, because one of the big things I'm a big proponent of right now is helping our schools to understand the value of employability skills. And once upon a time, you used to get your grade for your class, but you would get participation, or you would do some other things to help the teacher kind of like keep kids in line. But I'm seeing some schools who are now bringing in core values or different things, or at the elementary level, even PBIS stuff to try to like talk about what are our values, what do we believe in. And in a lot of cases, this is really just employability skills. And I'm a big proponent that we need to be doing a better job of not just saying you need to be more responsible. We need to define what responsibility looks like, help kids to recognize, well, this is what it looks like in school, but here's why this skill is so important, because you're going to need to have that in a job someday. And here's what it's going to look like in their job. And then having kids actually practice those skills. So talking about employability skills, what are some of the skills that you would say are, first, let's go around. What would you say, like some of the most important skills that you're finding when it comes to soft skills, employability skills, life skills, whatever you want to call that in the workplace?
Okay, I'll go. A big one here, or that from my experience, is being versatile and being able to do, multiple different things that you're asked. You're starting at a low level, so you just gotta take on what other people need you to do, even if that's not necessarily what you signed up for. So that, along with being honest with your coworkers and yourself, like if you don't understand something, feel free to ask questions. That's a huge thing you need to learn, I guess, in any field, I think.
I mean, one thing we definitely look for here is, these younger students and everything coming into the workforce, just really having that drive to learn and that drive to be successful, and really kind of setting goals for themselves, and then obviously letting us know what we can do to help them with that.
Yeah, I think really communication and a positive personality, I would say, I think that goes a lot further. We can help you get the skills that are going to help you day in and day out. We can support you 100% on that, but having that positive personality and that communication skill, that goes a long ways.
Well, that's great. And Tyler, it's Tyler, right? You mentioned that you said positive personality and just a good fit. And I think, I'm not sure if it was Sarah or somebody mentioned earlier, one of the big things that you've enjoyed was culture. One of the things when I'm talking with educators today is, and when I'm meeting with businesses that they're reiterating to me, and I'm trying to help our educators to see is, yes, we need to teach some technical skills, but these soft skills and employability skills are really critical. One other thing that's really critical that I'm hearing over and over again is the word culture. And somebody mentioned that just a little bit ago. I've heard that a lot of, in fact, one local business recently told me, the owner of the business said, we don't want any brilliant jerks working here. Meaning, the way I took that was, you can be the best and brightest, you might be the most skilled technician in your field, but if you are a jerk or people don't want to work with you, or you're not a good fit for the company, that's even probably worse than having, or more important than having the most skilled person. So I guess I've heard culture is huge in companies. What would you say are some critical characteristics of promoting good culture within the business? So that's number one. Number two, what might be some culture killers that you've seen or demonstrated? And Laura, this is not just for them. You can chime in on any of these as well. And then third, so what do you are looking for in terms of culture? What are culture killers? And what might you find ways that we in education could say, here's where you can help us to help prepare students to be better culture developers? Nobody wants to answer that question.
I guess I'll go. A big thing when I came in was I was welcomed with open arms. You know, everyone was very kind and friendly, and that made that transition into something new for me that I'd never been a part of before. It made it seem, pretty easy. Yeah, just being friendly and open, I guess, new hires is huge. And also, just being willing to, do whatever is asked of you and more, I guess, to be a part of that. Then I guess on the flip side, culture killers is kind of the opposite. If, you have some coworkers who are kind of cold to you, or, asking you to do something that they wouldn't do. That's a big thing, I think, that can kill a culture.
Yeah, I think I would second. I think that negative, I don't know, I think it's hard to put into words, but I think just hitting back on that positive personality. If you don't have that positive personality, willing to go above and beyond, because we will do the same thing for you, obviously. We will go above and beyond to help you get where you want to go. But if we're not getting that same feedback from you, that's where the culture killer is going to come in.
And I think one thing around here too that really helps promoting our culture is really this family-oriented environment, because obviously where this company started was a little shed in somebody's backyard, and then we've grown into what we have here today, just working with different departments. And I mean, we really focus here, like office to shop floor to shipping, the whole package, that we're really just a big team around here. So I think having those skills getting into the workforce is super important for kids, being willing to work with other people and just being adaptable in what they do.
Eric, I just want to echo that. I think the flexibility and that adaptability is so big here at DeWys, and talking to many other industries similar to us. You have to be willing, and you could have the credential to be fill in the blank. You're hired as a welder. I'm hired as HR, but being flexible and adaptable doesn't mean I'm not either of those things. It means I'm also able to help in accounting. I'm also able to help out on the shop floor as necessary. We are a business that needs each other to work together. And sometimes what I see struggling coming in here is that there is that identifier of this is what I'm going to do and this is all I'm going to do. And that can be a challenge when really you need team players and people who are willing to be flexible and adaptable at any given time.
Right. Really good. I didn't really jump right into this. A lot of times I do is kind of start with some softball. So I'm going to back out to a couple of softballs. So maybe it's a softball. So you're working in your roles right now. And so when you share your name, tell us your role again, because I think one of the things that will be important for our educators to realize is when they think manufacturing, oh, you work on the line and you do X, or they don't realize, which I'm glad Laura brought up, you have accounting and you have HR and you have market, you have different roles within a business. And sometimes I think we fail to realize that all those parts are played in any single business. But is what you're doing now what you always wanted to do? And then is it even something that you even knew existed when you were younger? And then the follow-up, I guess, to that be, well, what led you to this particular field and what you're doing?
Okay, so my name's Tabor again. I'm in accounting. But I've done also a lot of like the adaptability is a big thing. I've worked in sales here, purchasing, health with quality. So I've done kind of all sorts of stuff here. But the question, I guess, have I always known, or is this what I've always wanted to do? The answer to that's no. In high school, I had like no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to go to college, I guess. So I went to Grand Valley, and I had an accounting class my sophomore year. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to go into business in some field. And then I had an accounting class, and that's kind of what, set it off to me. Like, I'm pretty good with numbers and I understand it, and I like it. I like knowing what goes into everything, and like, I like being able to help a company, like feel like I'm helping a company on like in the office side of things, I guess. Sorry.
No, but I mean, you mentioned you're doing accounting now before you did some other stuff in the office. So you've had a lot of different roles. Did you, when you were younger, was like, I'm going to be an accountant someday? Or has that morphed and adapted over time, it sounds like?
Yeah, so I'd always been pretty good in math with numbers and that kind of stuff. And I also had a personal finance class in high school, which was actually very helpful. And that kind of, I kind of wanted to go into something related to the finance side of a business. And when I got to college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was just taking a bunch of different business classes, and then I had an accounting class and I really enjoyed it. So that's kind of, I guess, what made up my mind for me.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so I think my side, Tyler Hawkins, I'm the team lead. To second that, when I was in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. College was pushed pretty hard in high school, I believe, when I was there. So of course, I'm gonna go to college. I want to be a physical therapist, right? So I started at GRCC, just getting some prereqs out of the way, and I still wasn't totally sure, like, is this really what I want to do? I got 3 semesters in, and I said, yeah, this is not for me. I can't do college. There's no way I'm making it 8 years. So I dropped out of college, and I actually had family that worked at DeWys, and I had been here part-time for a little bit, so I came here full-time. Started welding. I welded for a while, then I got into some robotics, and I like the robotic side of things, so I excelled in that, and that was good. But I hit to me, what felt like almost a dead end in robotics, and I had dabbled a little bit into leadership, so I made the switch, and I'm really pursuing the leadership side of things, which it's been going good, and I enjoy it, but it's definitely not what I've seen myself doing in high school, I can tell you that.
That's good to know.
So I'm Sarah Gardner. I'm a weld engineer, and then my primary role is a trainer here. So I handle all of our training for robotics, for our hand weld, spot welding areas of the shop. So my career path kind of started in high school. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. So I thought I would go to my career tech center and learn something new. So if it wasn't something that I wanted to do forever, I at least had a new skill. So I went there my sophomore year and looked into criminal justice and then the welding programs there. So welding was just something really fun and hands-on that I could get into, and something that I found really enjoyable. So I ended up going there for 2 years. I really just wanted to learn more after school. So my professors there really pushed going to Ferris because they're like, if you want to learn more about welding, this is the place to do it. So I ended up going there for 5 years, got my bachelor's degree, worked in welding jobs while I was going to school to kind of figure out what exactly I wanted to do, like what area of the industry I wanted to be in. And I never really pictured being in training. Like teaching people is always something that I really enjoy because I wouldn't be where I'm at in my career if I didn't have people that were there teaching me and supporting me. So it's something that I've always kind of found interesting, but I just happened to find DeWys here and kind of work my way into this role through networking and knowing somebody in a career fair at school.
Great. Right. So what I'm just trying to repeat and make sure I'm actively listening, I heard a couple of things. Number one was nobody really knew what they wanted to do. For misnomer, for those kids, I make this joke all the time. When I was in high school, I remember people like, where are you going to go to college? What are you going to do? And I remember like, okay, I got accepted at this and in school. And I always feel like bad for the kids, like, well, I don't want to go to school. Like Tyler, you mentioned you felt kind of like, well, that's what I'm supposed to do. And I remember feeling that way too. And secondly, what are you going to do? And I remember kids saying, I want to be a doctor. I'm going to be a lawyer. And I remember looking at some of my friends like, you are not going to be a doctor. That's what I was thinking, right? Like if you can barely pass biology, how are you going to be a doctor? But these kids already have this idea. So either A, a preconceived notion, B, life kind of changes. C, how many kids ever like, very few think, like, I want to go into manufacturing. And why might that be? Because now all of you are in landed in this. And I wonder if it's just because they're not being exposed to this as an opportunity. They maybe moms or dads said, well, I don't want you to do that. So tell for our teachers and counselors and administrators, anybody who's on today, tell them from your perspective why this is a great job for you.
I can start this one if you want. So I mean, the biggest thing for me, just manufacturing in general, there are so many opportunities and options within this career field. Like if you get involved in welding or in press brakes or manufacturing in general or automotive, and you don't necessarily end up liking what you do, those skills that you develop, there's so many options and career paths to kind of take with that knowledge. And whether it's you working on a floor or in an office setting, like there's just a lot of opportunities out there. And that's one thing that I personally enjoy about it, is that, you know, you have a never-ending supply of career opportunities and you will have that ability to kind of create your own career path.
Yeah, so I think on my end of things, you mentioned the preconceived notions, right? So college is one of them, and then there's manufacturing's dirty or unsafe, or those were things that were preconceived for me when I moved into this role, and it's not that way at all. I was totally wrong thinking that. And to hit on Sarah's point of there's so many different opportunities just for me within DeWys. I mean, I'm thankful that I fell into the role that I'm in so I can grow within, and that's huge for me. But you almost get that preconceived notion of it's a dead end, right? And that's not the case at all.
Yeah, I guess also feeding off of what the other two had said, there are so many opportunities in manufacturing that, you know, people might not realize. They might just think, I'm going to go work in a plant if I go into manufacturing. But there's so many different career fields in manufacturing, and yeah, just so many opportunities that aren't, I guess, people don't think of when they think of manufacturing.
Yeah, for sure. And we can touch a little bit more about that in a second. I want to circle back to something, and I do see a question came up in the chat. That's great. I'm going to follow back up with that if you have other ones. At any point, raise your hand if you have a question, because I would be happy to let you jump in, or put it in the chat if you're like a burning question that you don't want to forget. But I want to circle back to a couple of things that I've heard, and something is in the back of my head this whole time. But first, I'm going to jump into Tyler. So you mentioned that you started to go to school. You were thinking, I think, physical therapy, I think you mentioned, or something like that. But you were working here part-time, and then kind of finally moved into that. I guess I might ask twofold is, what was some of your hesitancy? And obviously you said you're looking back like that's now, you know, I'm glad that I'm doing this. And secondly, you mentioned talking about being a team lead. And so I was going to ask, and all of you have mentioned that there's opportunity. And I think sometimes people forget in mid-size or even smaller businesses, the opportunities are there. I think sometimes people think like, hey, if I want to do anything with my life, if I want to grow or move up the chain, then I have to go to these big businesses. What I'm hearing from all of you is opportunity and lots of variety. So I'm going to start with Tyler, but anybody can jump on that. You mentioned a team lead. Tell me a little bit about that career path. And you said you tried a couple of different things. What led you to here? And would you then second that there's a lot of opportunity at DeWys?
Yeah, so to answer the first question, the hesitancy, I think that, again, I'm gonna hit on that preconceived notion of, my thought was I'm gonna be standing at a machine all day and that's it. That's all I'm gonna ever get to. And I think it really took just me taking the step and getting into it. And I think growing to the team lead position, I had thought, well, in order to get into that leadership and the upper side of business, I'm gonna need a degree, right? I thought that's how it's gotta happen, and that's not it at all. I was wrong again with that. So I think there's I don't know, I hit definitely on those preconceived notions of college has to happen no matter which way you look at it, this way or that way. It doesn't. And I had to learn that the harder way, I guess, but thankful that I did.
Cool.
I kind of comment on that.
Sure.
I'd like to, I guess, add in that a degree isn't everything. Definitely what people look for is like experience and how you interact with other people. I think that's huge. So even if you don't go to college and get your degree, you can still definitely land an awesome job with a company with lots of opportunity. You know, just working on your people skills, I guess. That's huge.
Totally agree. So I think it's really important to mention because and for some of I see some educators on here who I've worked with in the past. So those who know me know I'm a big believer in education. I have a master's, and probably most of our people on here have at least a bachelor's, if not a master's, or even more. But for a long time, the push was that you just need to go to college to get a good job. And I think that what has opened my eyes is realizing that, yeah, there's a lot of jobs that do require a degree, but I think what we have become is a college factory in K-12 in many ways, where we say, in order for you to get X good job, you need to go to college without even knowing what the kids are wanting to do. And I think that we need to do a better job of saying, what is it that you want to do? And what is the career pathway that will get you there? And if a 4-year degree is required, like, for example, to be a teacher, well, then, yeah, you got to follow that pathway. But helping kids to find out what they want to do first and what's the best pathway to get there. It might be an associate's degree. It might be an apprenticeship. It might be a certificate, but it doesn't always mean a 4-year degree. And what I'm hearing, though, even on your guys' end, there's continuing education. For you to be a team lead, there's obviously some stuff that you've been having to do along the way, Tyler, to develop your skill set. I know you were doing some welding stuff there, Sarah, and then you went on. I think sometimes a non-traditional path might sometimes make more sense. Find out what I want to do, maybe go do it for a little bit, and then, oh yeah, I need a degree to do this. I'm going to do that. And shoot, Laura has already mentioned that they'll pay for. I think we need to help our students to realize it doesn't have to be go to college, get the degree, then get the job. It might be no college, but a certificate. It might mean go do the job and let them pay for your schooling. We just need to kind of change the way we're thinking about that, I guess I would say.
Yeah, and I think to add into that, I think definitely there's been some schooling along the way for myself. I guess some classes that I've taken and some options that are out there that I didn't even know about, right? So I thought if I've got to go to college and then get the job, to your point there, 100%. But no, that's definitely not. I got the job and then I grew within the job. And DeWys has helped me a ton along the way with that.
Awesome. All right, I want to make sure I just. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as far as like traditional educational paths go, I mean, having that ability to work in what I wanted to do when I graduated while I was going to school just was so much of a benefit into what I was doing and just made me that much more prepared for my career and what I wanted to do. Having that hands-on with also that, education side of things.
Sure. I am going to ask one more question here before I get to John's question that he posted, because I don't want to forget this. Sarah, this specific question is specifically for you. It's been burning on my mind. Here we have a woman in manufacturing, and Laura's in manufacturing. I remember seeing the picture of a couple of the ladies. Let's just face it, when we think of manufacturing, we think of a male-dominated industry. And between that and we talk about STEM-related stuff that Laura helped with out in Kennewood Hills, what are your perspectives from looking at women? Do you see a lot of women in manufacturing? This is for Laura or for you, Sarah. And what could we in education be doing to help raise the profile of manufacturing as a career viability for women?
I mean, I've definitely seen a lot more in recent years, a lot more women getting into this field, and just kind of seeing that there are other women that are out there doing that and being successful in this career path. I think that's huge. Networking is huge. Like my graduating class, I think we had more females graduate that year out of my program than we had in the past, 20, 40 years. So just seeing that increase out there is really awesome, but being able to kind of give some of these students contacts or be able to talk to or see these people that have been doing that and had success with that, I think is a really good starting point.
And before you answer, Laura, I'm going to ask you educators who are on here, especially because we have a lot of counselors, whether you put it in the chat or start thinking about what are the things that we in education can do to help raise that profile. And if you have any follow-up questions about that, because it really, in many ways, we're the first line of defense there and helping to raise that profile as a viable option for ladies. All right, Laura, your thoughts.
Yeah, I would agree with Sarah. I'm seeing more in my 15 years of being here at DeWys. You do see more non-traditional faces in different careers than ever before. I think something that's important is nothing that you guys don't already know. It's for those students to be able to visually see somebody like them in that career field. And that's where, taking somebody like Sarah out or some other females that I might have in other non-traditional roles and bring them out so that other students can see them. That's been valuable because they don't know what they don't know. If they're sitting inside your classrooms, they don't know that they could be a welder, they could be a robotic operator. And we have a couple of lady robotic operators that work with Tyler in his area, and they just don't know what they don't know. And so it's imperative that these connections to employers like myself to help them visually see these careers and opportunities they may otherwise not think they could do. And it's no different for a more female dominated career path, right? Nursing and some of these areas where you don't see as many males. It's important for them to be able to identify and see other men in those roles too. So it's just, I think that's something that while we're certainly trying to find the best candidate for every position, is something we are definitely trying to be more purposeful in, and finding people in these career fields that are not traditional, and being able to then get them out and let other younger generations be able to see what you can do and you may not have known it.
Awesome. And I also wanted to add too that sometimes we need to help our students recognize or see the concept of transferable skills, right? Like for example, I remember being at a construction place and their HR person was saying, we look for people like, hey, if you like gaming, it's not the same thing, but if you like gaming and you're really good and just have that hand dexterity, consider being a crane operator. A lot of it is just working and managing controls, but precision stuff, being able to pick up and move stuff around. I never even thought about that. Or women who love to work with their hands, so maybe they're automatically thinking, I need to go into cosmetology, when maybe what they're really wanting to do is work with their hands and find another job that they could transfer that skill, even if it's in a completely different field. So we just need to help students look at where they can transfer skills, or look what they're looking to do and try to dig a little bit deeper into that. All right, I want to make sure I address this question that John had asked a while back. He says, I've heard several businesses that are struggling to keep employees from job jumping and chasing a higher salary. Is there anything in particular that you do to sell your business culture to retain employees?
I could probably kick this one off a little bit, and then the three of them can probably add to what they're seeing. It's definitely a challenge. By no means have we figured out how to perfect the wheel there, because unfortunately you still have some people who will leave. We have been further advanced, I think, in our pay scale to begin with. So I tend to watch everything from hamburger places to stores to manufacturers. So I do watch the different industries and not just manufacturing alone to make sure we can lead, because I know the reputation that is felt out there that manufacturing doesn't pay well. And I sincerely believe that is not true, and can prove it. But I think something else that we do is we're pretty active back on that social media front. We right now have kind of our chapters, as we call it, going on our Facebook page, and that's our team members talking about why they like working here at DeWys. It's not just me telling you why you should come working at DeWys, but it's people like Tabor, Tyler, and Sarah who are getting their voices out there and helping to explain why this place is a good place to work and why the culture is great. So that's been something we've been really focused on right now. Our marketing plan is very important. It's getting out there and knowing the avenues to get out there and in front of the different generations, because everybody handles technology a little bit differently still. So making sure we get it out on various platforms and really are telling our story to anybody who will listen.
Yeah, and I think to add into that, the people we work with, the people here really, really sell this place. I mean, there's just great people everywhere. And you hear it, people, we've seen it, people leave, they'll go elsewhere, and then, I don't know, month, 2 months, they're back telling us the grass wasn't greener, and the people here support them. And I think that's a huge portion. Our culture swing has definitely helped with that.
Yeah, I definitely think culture is a huge part of that. And again, just that team environment that we've created here, and something that we've really pushed. And again, it's not just, one person telling you that, it's a story from everybody here and every employee about what their experience has been here and about what they like about the company, and just the ability to offer people that continued growth, that it's not just you coming in and doing one thing and that's all you'll ever do, that you have opportunity and options.
Right.
Just continuing on that one, if you guys do decide to take a look at our chapters, as we call them, our very first one was done by the president of our company. Our president started here when he was 15 cleaning toilets. He literally started at entry, just a high schooler, and worked his way through various avenues of doing maintenance and shipping and purchasing, and worked his way up to now being the president of the company. So those are one of those, I guess, opportunities to explain to kids about continuing to build your career and what you could be, and you don't even think about it at the given time. I'm sure if you talk to Mark, he would not have told you when he started working here cleaning toilets that he was going to become president of the company. But that is where you can continue to grow yourself too when you work in a company like this.
Yeah, I forgot you've told me that story before, and I'm glad you shared that. That's really valuable for our educators to be able to pass along. Let's face it, in today's age of instant gratification, I've talked to employers on and on again. They think that these college graduates are coming out like, oh, I'm going to be a manager, or I'm going to be running this and that department, and like, no, you're not. Like, let alone realizing that no, maybe it requires cleaning some toilets. And honestly, my guess is your president has more of a sense of humility and understanding of his in people, probably better because of that, as opposed to the entitlement that comes with coming out of getting your degree and like expecting to run the business. So I'm going to piggyback off of John's question. I guess I have two. The first one being COVID. So tell us a little bit about how COVID has maybe affected any business, and in this case, DeWys, both from how that's hit you as an industry, but also to some of the things that have come as a result. That now that with the government payments for some of the people, well, we can't find work, so we're paying people to be able to stay home. Is that making it harder for you to find qualified workers?
Sure. COVID is still an interesting conversation. I'd say we've seen some extreme highs. Last year when it first hit, we were deemed essential. As you remember from earlier, we are in the medical industry. So for a while there, we were specifically making some of the emergency medical beds that they were utilizing around the COVID conversation last summer. You want to see a group of people work together for a common goal. That was one of the times I think I was the most proud to be working with every one of the team members we had here, and during a very stressful point for them too, right? So, but they had some extreme lows too, because as we know, the industries did shut down in general. Even in the medical world, people weren't doing elective things. So we had to do some layoffs here, which was an extremely challenging conversation around here, and not something we typically ever get involved in. But again, the teams are doing what they need to do and continue to move forward. Even now, you're still, working with team members and dealing with the COVID and what's going on around us with families and kids being in school or we're going virtual. I think something that we all have utilized in terms of the word flexibility, and that's pretty much, how I think DeWys has worked through this whole situation. We've had to be flexible and agile. We needed to bend and weave through the whole thing. We needed to work with our team members if they needed to work from home, if they needed to work with their kids because their kids were home. If they themselves weren't comfortable, there was definitely a group of people who did not work for a while because they themselves were not comfortable. And so I think it was a sure sign for me, as somebody who'd been here a long time, that we as a company do the right things even when nobody's looking. And we really worked with each other to get through it and be able to come out of it even busier and far with more people than we've ever had before. And we continue to build our team and the capacity here to continue to grow. So at least from my perspective, that flexibility and agility was a key part of our success over the last 18 months. But I'll let the guys and gals create any additional input they might have around COVID.
Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, the control guy had to go get his charger. But I would 100% agree that the flexibility, I mean, it would come to a point where we had people off and work that still had to be done, and John DeWys himself is out in shakeout. I mean, we're here to help each other 100%. But it has been tough. I mean, keeping that positive, the positive aspect to it. If there is light at the end of the tunnel. We're good.
Oh, we lost him. He'll probably be coming back in a second. He probably died before he could turn it back on.
Yeah, I wonder if they lost a battery or something.
All right. Well, we'll keep looking for them to jump back in. All right. Well, that's okay, because this leads me to a question that maybe you can answer.
Yeah.
And then I want to turn it over. I know we haven't had a lot of questions, so I'm going to put the spot on to my participants to be asking some questions here in just a second, because I've got more, but I'd much rather hear from them. But I'm just going to ask a blunt question. We've talked about like opportunities here, Laura. When it comes to, are they coming like, what happened?
Yeah, they're like, we died. We're coming back. We swear.
That's all right. We're good. We're good. So let's just talk about career pathing in terms of opportunity. Some people will be, and it was even mentioned earlier, I think maybe by Tyler, like, well, how am I going to make a living doing this? Like, is this something that's a viable option for me? You don't have to give me, dollars and cents for every person, but for our counselors on here, particularly telling kids like this isn't a viable option, what are they looking at in terms of like not only just a couple of job opportunities? I saw robots on there, so it's not going to be necessarily punching out widgets. I worked in a manufacturing facility one winter in between when I was home from college, and it was like I saw people punching out widgets. I'm like, that I will never do that. It was the most boring, but it was nothing like what I've seen at the facilities that I've been at in this role. So tell us, like about just so many different types of roles, but then also tell us, just be blunt in terms of what are some of the opportunities in terms of a salary, in terms of like, why should I work at DeWys versus McDonald's? I already know you said that you were looking, and obviously they're not making McDonald's salary, but let them know what are some of the potential opportunities for a person who wants to work in manufacturing.
Sure. So let's start, since we're all talking high school a second here. high schoolers, people in the summer, they come and work here. And I very much can work around age. And obviously is a conversation to be had here, because once you're 18, obviously the sky is the limit, but we can work people under 18, and we do have to manage where they're working at. But I've had people work in maintenance type roles. They start out doing some of that, I'll say kind of that cleaning, light maintenance, because they can't utilize certain pieces of equipment. And then as they've grown, I have a young man who worked here in high school, just did that same type of work. And as he got out of high school, we got him into an apprenticeship, and he's continued to build on his career. So our high schoolers come in here making $15, $16 an hour. And they're growing into, you're talking 25, 30, if you're talking a dollar amount per hour. But then as you get into certain roles, the salary obviously can be conversation for professional sides to some of the lead side of things here. But career paths are interesting here, because we can upskill people based on a specific area. So like you talk welding or robotic welding, or there's a lot of cross training here. And that's where that flexibility again comes into play. And that somebody could be a welder, but also know how to run a Hager or some other smaller machines. You might be a robot operator and a hand welder. You might work laser equipment and be a machinist. So I have a lot of people that dive into different careers because they're interested in continuing to learn and grow. And it does affect their pay here. It is part of we have a wage calculator here. So piece of it is based on your skill set and knowledge. And then of course, some other factors involved. But yeah, the trades here can make up to about $30 an hour. That doesn't include our shift premium. Second shift has a 10% shift premium. So if you're making $30 an hour, you got another $33 an hour on top of it. Weekend, we have a weekend shift that gets a $1 shift premium on top of it too. And as we talked about in the case of Mark, and we have a number of members, our leadership, they've grown into various leadership, whether it's a team lead to a middle manager to members of our leadership team who've grown through the ranks of time here. Whether we send them to some educational opportunities, some mentoring and coaching of their own, there's a lot of opportunities, and they can see them here because of our team members around them who have had those same opportunities, who've grown in their careers here.
Awesome. No, that's good. I mean, I think our people just need to realize that I think that some people think, oh, I'm going to be stuck doing something, and I'm going to be making, $20 or $15 and $18 an hour, and then I'm tapped out and I can't grow. The other follow-up question is, it sounds like clearly there's opportunities for premium shifts or overtime, but I think sometimes there's a misnomer that you work in manufacturing, you should be expecting you're going to be working 50, 60 hours a week. Is that the case for everybody?
Not for everybody here. We have some areas that are of our shop that are straight 40 hours. You've got a lot of opportunity for overtime, and I have a mixed bag of people here who really like overtime and who really don't. As I was talking about that weekend shift I have, they work 3 12-hour days. And so they work 36 hours, but they get paid 40. So there's just different opportunities kind of based on what somebody's looking for. During the week, a lot of them are working 50 and some 50 plus hours, just kind of depending on the area that they're in, and sometimes how many hours they want to work. So there's a lot of variations to that schedule here.
All right, awesome. And I'm hoping that our guests can get back in, because I know somebody tried to get in earlier.
We're back.
Oh, they're back. Awesome.
We're back. Sorry, I checked like 5 minutes ago and I had 50% left, and then all of a sudden it just shut off. So.
Well, I asked like 5 questions while you were gone, Tabor. So I guess you're, but forget it. We're moving on. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to pause real quick, and I'm going to put some of our participants on the spot. I have a tendency to try to talk a lot because I'm a silence filler. I just admit that. And when I don't get questions in the chat or people being asked out loud, then I fill the void. But I'm going to just pause and make that uncomfortable pause and hope that somebody either unmutes themselves and asks a question or put something in the chat box, because I really want to hear from our participants our guests, and see what questions you have. Oh my gosh. Okay. That's about like 10 seconds, about as long as I can wait. Like that was brutal for me. So, all right. So thank you, Lori. Lori asked a question. Are most of your employees from local communities? Do you ever recruit outside of West Michigan?
The
Thank you
vast
for saving
majority.
me, Lori.
He owes you one, I think. The vast majority of our team members do probably come within an hour of the company. I do have a number of them. So if anybody's not familiar with Marne, we are about 15 minutes northwest of Grand Rapids, of downtown Grand Rapids, going towards the lakeshore area. So we get a vast majority of our team members, Muskegon. I have the M37 North corridor. So Kent City, Grant, Newaygo, White Cloud, up towards that general area. Certainly close by, Coopersville, Walker area. It seems like south of Grand Rapids, we have a much more minimal group. We don't seem to have a good draw. They don't want to drive through downtown. We do get some from the lakeshore. Obviously, with having the Grand Haven presence now, we have more from the lakeshore. But we are in a rural community out here, so we really have to, and we find we have the best benefits north, where there's other rural communities without as much industry, versus trying to compete with, there's a lot more industry in downtown Grand Rapids or in the Holland area. So that's where we tend to go. We've definitely tried to get outside of our walls, but you have a hard time getting people to come here from, Lansing or anywhere too far east.
All right. Awesome. Thanks. Any other questions from anybody? I'm going to circle back to some of our, I guess, my standard questions real quick, and wanted to ask, and this is for our panel or for you, Laura, but particularly for Tyler and Tabor and Sarah. What is one thing that you learned in school that you'd say, I'm glad I learned that. This is something I applied? Because one of the biggest things that comes up a lot of times, and if you've been in my trainings, I know that kids often ask, well, when are we going to use this in the real world? And a lot of times, I've got a 9th grader, my oldest is in 9th grade, and she's learning math. I'm like, I hated doing it, but I'm a former teacher, but I'm also a parent. I'm like, listen, sweetie, you just got to get through this, because you're not going to use this in the real world. Like, just face it, right? The reality is sometimes there's stuff you're going to learn that if you're not going to be a scientist, you're not going to probably need to know that. But there's going to be something that, like, I remember learning this, and this has always stuck with me, and I use it. So for Tabor, for Tyler, for Sarah, what was one thing you learned in school? And like, oh, I'm glad I learned that.
So like you had mentioned, there's a lot that I learned in high school that is completely not relevant to what I'm doing today, or even life after high school. Like calculus, I don't even know, I'd never used that. But definitely what you learn, a big skill you learn in high school is problem solving and using your resources. Not being afraid to, ask questions, that's huge, like I mentioned on earlier. But just problem solving is a huge one. Figuring out how to do things that, or figuring out how to conquer, I guess, barriers and obstacles that are in your way. That's pretty big, yeah.
Yeah, I think just second on that is really working with various different people, working in groups, teamwork. I think that's huge.
Yeah, that was definitely something for me in school, just working with, every class, you have different group projects and stuff with that. So just learning how to work with different types of people, different personalities, getting over differences of opinion, getting to a good solution and being able to have helpful conversation around that. And then also just like practicing resume building and different things like that. Like I actually had a professor in college, one of our assignments was making a resume, going through that whole process. We did mock interviews. He spent a whole semester teaching us about accounting stuff and how to figure out interest rates and stuff like that. So just little things like that that you don't necessarily think about until you're in the real world and you have to pay taxes and all this fun stuff that you don't really get to deal with in high school.
Right.
Yeah,
Totally.
I'll say there's not like a lesson plan that I remember, or anything that, means anything to me today. It's the lessons you learn and the skills you learn, like how to handle those. That's kind of what sticks with you through high school.
Yeah.
So like those group activities, working with one another, and problem solving, that's the big thing that sticks out to me.
So for those people out here who are classroom teachers or counselors who work with the teachers a lot, more project-based learning, I think, is valuable. I mean, I'm a big proponent of that. Teaching or helping your teachers realize, listen, no, building resumes and doing some mock interviews is valuable, because I got it in college, but I know some people don't get that. So getting that in high school, and I've worked with teachers that are doing that, which is phenomenal, because I hear oftentimes kids like, that was something I remember.
I'd like to jump in, if you don't mind, on that. The mock interviews and stuff. So at my school, fairly small, but for the seniors, every year they require you to put together like a portfolio, which includes, you put together a resume, and get a couple letters of recommendations and that kind of stuff. And then they help you, I guess, perfect that. So you learn how to put that together and kind of what goes into the job searching process. And then also they have you go through they call them senior exit interviews, where they bring in some professionals from around the community, and you go through interviews with them, and it kind of gives you a feel of what you're going to be going into, I guess. So.
Yeah, and that sounds like that's something you do remember. All right, good. You're good. Well, we're just about out of time. I saw there was one question, and I had a couple more. Believe it or not, I had more questions in the bag, but I saw that there was a question, and Laura was able to address that in terms of the engineers. One quick thing I will point out, at least in Kent County, we have that Launch U that Laura was talking about, and we have a program called Mechanical Design. That was the first one that we started, and now they have a couple more. In that Mechanical Design, you can get an associate's degree, so a 2-year degree. You actually do in the early middle college. So if you're not familiar, you actually start in 10th grade and you stay for a 13th year. You're technically taking college classes, but you're a 13th year high school student. It's fully paid for, it's free. And when they're done, they have a mechanical design degree. And some of that is, I think, what Laura's talking about, some of that mechanical, and you could be making really good money right out of school at 19 years old and getting these engineering, the mechanical design jobs, and going in and making some really good money. I saw one other question that came up. John said, and then this will be our last question, because then I have to do a quick wrap up. We've actually gone almost used up all the time. So we talk about problem solving and communication skills as being really important. So from an HR standpoint, Laura, what types of things do you look for in a resume that separates one person from another, especially when everything's posted online today?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't say the resume will tell you that information at all. If they've been to different jobs, especially if we're talking K-12, when I'm interviewing some of them, knowing that they've had some sort of prior experience is definitely helpful, whether it's, and that can be anything from volunteer work to they were babysitting or anything. That's good. That kind of tells me, okay, they've had to talk to somebody along that line. But in all reality, the resume, I'm looking for some of those key, maybe items, career items, key factors that I need for the job. The real part comes in when we talk to them, regardless of it's a phone interview, a virtual interview, or an on-site one. We have multiple interviews that help to kind of go through some of these same conversations that Tyler and Sarah and Tabor are talking about. They're involved in some of those interviews, specifically Sarah and Tyler. They're the second line. So we're trying to decode some of that from the beginning when we talk with them. You can have your resume speak a lot of words, but your voice and your experiences and how you articulate yourself and convey the responses are going to be the key factor. And then certainly that's where Tyler and Sarah come in from a second standpoint to also help with that. Fortunately, I wish I could say the resume gives me any magic wand, because just writing the words I can communicate doesn't tell me you truly can. They've got to be able to articulate that in a phone interview or a face-to-face interview.
But I will use that as a, what you just asked, John, and what based on what Laura's saying. I'm in the process, and some people are already working with me on piloting an employability skills checklist that teachers could be practicing with the students, working on like defining, explaining, practicing these employability skills or soft skills, whatever you want to call them, and then looking for areas of growth, because I can guarantee you those things, I've already heard it today: problem solving, collaboration, communication, adaptability and flexibility. The words weren't used, but people were talking about grit or perseverance. Those are the questions that come up in an interview all the time. They might use different words, but those are the questions that come up. And when kids can clearly identify and understand what that means and be able to translate that to their own personal experiences, that's what's going to help them sell themselves in their interview. I just wanted to put a little plug, start working on that. So hoping to get that out pretty soon, and I'm piloting that this fall. All right, unfortunately, we're just about out of time here. So I wanted to quickly share with you the last couple items and then get you out of here on time. So upcoming PDs, I'm trying to get my screen here. Is it showing? Okay, good. Do you see my screen? Is it showing? With upcoming PDs? All right. So some upcoming PDs, we have our next Educators in Industry. I'm hoping to be able to do this. We're just testing it out. I know that not everybody who can do this. If you're not from Kent County, then this obviously, you are welcome to come and sign up. But if it's obviously you're on the other side of the state, I know that's a little bit tougher, but I'm trying to bring back some face-to-face stuff. If I get enough people to sign up, and that's a big if. As of right now, I don't. But if I get enough people to sign up, we're looking to do a full day face-to-face Educators in Industry, kind of like what we did pre-COVID on November 16th. That would be one where you come to the ISD. If we can get transportation, we'll provide the transportation. You'll go out, we'll do lunch while we're out. But if we do this, we're going to be going to the Kent County Sheriff's Office, spending a couple hours. We got some cool things planned there. And then Joseph Jupe. And Joseph Jupe, I never knew what that was, but that's a high-end furniture manufacturer. As it was told to me, they don't just make off-the-line stuff. For example, Tom Brady has a customized kitchen table that's tens of thousands of dollars. They made that. So we'd be going to there. And then our next virtual Educators in Industry is going to be on December 9th. As of right now, I'm still working on connecting my business, but that will be on December 9th. That is posted in our PD Hub. The Educator Spotlight Series, if you've never attended that, it's an opportunity to hear from educators. It could be teachers, it could be administrators, it could be counselors. We've done them all. They'll get a chance to come on and for like 30 to 40 minutes, just share their story. Hey, here's some innovative things that I'm doing around career readiness. And it could be in the classroom, it could be programs being run, whatever it is. Our first one is October 25th with Drew Klopkick from Northview Next. That's an alternative high school, but he's talking about how we build career planning and try to get these kids at Northview Next ready for careers. And they're actually doing some manufacturing stuff with virtual machines. And November 29th is Kristen Donick. And I was mentioning Launch U, our early middle college. She's going to be our guest on November 29th, the Launch U coordinator. And if you are, just a couple things to let you know, as of right now, I have a half-day scheduled face-to-face program called Creating a Profile of a Career-Ready Graduate, where we'll walk people through the process of what does a career-ready graduate look like, and basically starting with the end in mind. How do we know that we're getting our kids ready for careers? Starting laying out some of those steps and kind of working backwards. As of right now, I don't have enough people signed up. So if I can't get enough, minimum of 8 or so, then I'm going to have to cancel that. But I do want to throw that out there. And then finally, virtually, we have our Career Readiness Network. That will be a virtual one on November 9th. That's open to anybody. We obviously are encouraging Kent County teachers, but it's open across the state. And it'll be about 3 hours, but we cover a bunch of different things. And this is going to be primarily counselors, but we encourage administrators, teachers as well to join. So that's kind of all the things coming up on our calendar. I wanted to make sure that hopefully you're still with me. You need to have this, and I'm going to put this in the chat in about 15 seconds. But in order to get the sketches for today's session, you need to fill out the survey. You will go to bit.ly/EII for Educators in Industry -sketch 2021-22. 2021-22. And again, I'll put that in the link in just a second. And then you will need this 6-digit code. That will be for today's session specifically, 242109. My email address is up on the screen. I need to change our website. That should be now KentISD. deWys.org/career readiness. But you can find a lot of information on that page. With that, I just wanted to, let me get back to make sure my screen is, oh, I can stop sharing my screen. I'll put in the chat box, I'll put that up. I wanted to say thank you. We're 3 minutes over. Thank you to Laura, to Tyler, to Tabor, and to Sarah. Thank you for your time today. We really appreciate you answering all those questions. Anybody, the participants, if you have further questions that you forgot to ask, or you just were too nervous or embarrassed to ask in front, just reach out to me and I'll pass it along. But thank you, participants, and thank you so much to our guests for joining us today. Have a great day, everybody.